How do? I'm Mark from Morrigan's Creations, and the last two videos we've been working on our Worlds Collide diorama. So I decided to take a little bit of a break from the base and decided that I was going to paint up the Khorgorath. Chances are, if you've watched the last episode, I think it was the last episode, you will have seen what state the Khorgorath was in, how many layers were on it, and I managed to strip it down. And I then primed it black, and then I used Vallejo white primer to do a zenithal from above. And as you can see, I have sprayed it using my airbrush, using Blood Angels red, and now I'm slowly layering up using a mix of Mephiston red and Evil Sun scarlet. You can really see here how good the technique of using contrast paints over a zenithal prime really shows off all those details, makes natural shadows. Anything that's black turns into a dark red, more close to a brown, and everything that was white you get in a very vivid red. By doing it this way, I'd say about 80% of the work's done for you already. So all you've got to do, if you choose to, you can always leave it like that. That's more akin to slap chop, but I like to layer up using some of my normal layer paints, highlighting up with some brighter colours, like you can see here with this yellow. And I like to do that to make it pop a hell of a lot more, and it also allows me to introduce some texture. So now I'm using the contrast paint Leviathan Purple. I'm working this into, it's almost like a scar, but it's sort of where the skin's been cut away and you can see the muscle underneath. And I've noticed on, I think it's the box art, it's more of a black, but I'm going to put a picture up on the screen now, and it's going to be the reference that I used, which shows some art. I don't know if it's official, but that shows purple muscle underneath, and I really like that. So now I'm breaking out the airbrush, just testing on a scrap bit of card, just so that I don't ruin the piece. And because I'm using Citadel paints, I made sure that I thinned it down quite a bit, so that I get some nice transitions between the purple and the red. And I'm focusing this more to the areas where it's, I'm guessing, necrotic skin, basically where all the bones starting to stick out. But I also decided to spray this from below, just add a bit of colour to them shadows. I wasn't too keen on the reddy brown. Now I'm moving back in with some straight Evil Sun scarlet, and I'm highlighting this onto the back because I didn't do a lot of highlighting there. And the way the diorama's positioned, you're going to be seeing mostly his back, because he's not the central focus, so just wanted to add a bit of detail there. And I'm not sure if you can tell by the video, but I'm trying to work the brush in a slightly different way where I'm adding a bit more texture. Trying to add a bit of that skin texture, make it look a little bit more realistic. As realistic as you can go with a Chaos Demon. It's considered a Chaos Demon, isn't it? I'm pretty sure. But just by highlighting that back, made a lot of improvement. So now it's time for the bone. This thing's covered in a lot of bone, and if you follow me on Instagram, which you should, chances are you might have already seen this. So I did post this on Instagram, and I think I also posted it on Facebook, so I'll leave the links to them. You get a chance every now and then to see what I'm working on, but you know who gets to see that even earlier than them? You can join me on my Patreon. Nice segue. So the Patreon you can join from as little as £1, but as you'd expect, the higher tiers get more access. So you don't have to join. I'm just putting this advertising in there while I can, because it's worked in the past, because I can happily say I now have a Patreon, and his name is David Prido. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm sorry if it isn't. You'll have to let me know. So getting back on track with the video, I'm tending to work a bit more sketchy with my lines on this. Just added a lot more of that texture. I think this might actually work for non-metallic metal as well. It's perhaps something that I'll have to try, or if it's something that you've tried, let me know, see if it works how I think it does. But I'm really happy how this bone turned out, and you can get details like this done in about 10 minutes. So, which surprised me quite a bit. I think the key to it looking good is a lot of contrast. So it's very dark shadows in the shadows, and The highlights are really bright as well, so I think that's kind of what helped it work out a lot. But as you can see, I'm moving in with a lot of pallid witch flesh mixed into, I think it's Ushabti bone. They're the main colours that I used. I used a bit of a mix, mainly brown colours going up to, you know, like your sandy colours, up to your whites. You could do white scar, that could probably work, but I didn't dare push too far. But when you look at it close up, it's got quite a bit of a painterly feel. I know it's paint, but it's sort of like it's got that texture that you get on digital art. But it's definitely something you should try out. And if you do decide to try it out, be sure to send it to me, send me pictures. I want to see how you develop this technique. I know I probably haven't come up with it. I almost definitely haven't come up with it, but yeah, share it with me. Let me know if you figure out any ways of making it better. So now I'm doing the tentacles. I did use a bit of Volupus pink contrast paint, but I then decided that I was going to make them highlights and shadows a bit darker, a bit lighter. And I can happily say that I'm really glad I did, because working this way, I think I'd say it's similar to how I did the bullywug in my video, which was slap chop versus layer painting, and I really enjoy how that turned out, so I think I'm leaning more towards that style now. The footage is a little bit blurry here, but I'm working in nice thin layers, thin down my paint with a little bit of water, just so that I can make it, I don't want it to blend perfectly. I do want some sharp edges like on this little edge of the tentacle here, but by thinning down my paints I get a lot more control. And because I'm working with thinner paints, it is taking a lot more layering. I am having to wait a little bit for it to dry between coats, but you're going to see here how having that much control really contributes to the paint job's overall look. While I had the purples out, I decided that I was going to do a bit of highlighting on that necrotic skin, just to add a little bit more depth. So here we're working on the red armour, and I'm trying to approach this in much the same way as I did with the bone. Nice short scratchy movements with the paintbrush, mixing in a bit more orange, going more towards Troll Slayer orange at the very highlights. Now, just to finish up, we are working with our metallics. I did think about doing non-metallics, but it didn't work out, just to say the least. I wasn't happy with it. So I decided that I go over all the gold parts using Gehenna's Gold from Citadel Colour. Me being me, I forgot the scars on the back, considering that's the main part you're going to be looking at. I did this using Evil Sun Scarlet and Pallid Witch Flesh mixed together, equal parts, a little bit lighter towards the tips. And with all that out of the way, let's take a look at those glamour shots.